Unexpected visitors. The Galactic Peacekeeping Force, GPF, Station Harmony 7 hung in the inky void of space like a glittering snowflake, its crystalline structures reflecting the light of nearby stars. Inside, Captain Zixtal of the Arcturian species stood at attention, his iridescent scales shifting colors with each breath. Today was no ordinary day for the seasoned officer. Harmony 7 was about to receive its first human visitors. Status report. Zixtal clicked to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Vreen, a Valerian whose gelatinous form rippled with nervous energy. All systems nominal, Captain, Vreen burbled. The human vessel is approaching Docking Bay 3. Environmental controls have been adjusted to Earth standard. Zixtal's antenna twitched. Excellent. Remember, everyone, these humans are classified as Deathworlders. Extreme caution is advised. A murmur of unease rippled through the bridge crew. Deathworlders were rare in the galactic community, species that evolved on planets so inhospitable that most other life forms considered them uninhabitable. Humans, with their robust physiology and aggressive tendencies, were viewed with a mixture of fear and fascination. As the sleek human ship glided into the docking bay, Zixtal and a small welcoming committee made their way to greet the visitors. The airlock hissed open, revealing 3 figures, 2 adults, and to everyone's surprise, a small child. Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped forward, her dark eyes scanning the alien delegation with keen interest. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Reeves, a xenobiologist, offered a cautious smile. Between them stood their daughter, Lily, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the bizarre forms of the station's inhabitants. "Greetings, Captain Zixtal," Ambassador Chen said, her voice steady and diplomatic. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for your hospitality." Zixtal's translator implant converted her words to a series of clicks and whistles that he could understand. He responded with what he hoped was a welcoming gesture. "Ambassador Chen, Dr. Reeves, we are honored by your presence. However, we were not informed that a juvenile would be accompanying you." Marcus stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "Our daughter is part of this diplomatic mission, Captain. We believe in educating the next generation about galactic affairs firsthand." Vreen's gelatinous form quivered with concern. "But surely, bringing a child to an alien environment is unwise. The potential dangers." Sarah's eyes flashed with a mixture of amusement and steel. "I assure you, Lieutenant, Lily is quite capable of handling herself. Humans believe in exposing our young to controlled challenges. It builds resilience." The alien officers exchanged glances, their species equivalent of raised eyebrows evident in their body language. The concept of intentionally exposing offspring to potential danger was alien to most galactic cultures, where young were coddled and protected at all costs. As the group made their way through the station's winding corridors, Lily's enthusiasm became increasingly evident. She peppered Zixtal with questions about the station's technology, the various species they encountered, and the mysteries of space. The captain found himself torn between admiration for the child's curiosity and concern for her safety. "And what's that?" Lily asked, pointing to a shimmering force field that separated 2 sections of the station. "That's a quantum barrier," Zixtal explained, his tone softening despite himself. "It helps maintain different atmospheric conditions in various parts of the station." Lily's eyes lit up. "Cool. Can we go through it?" Before Zixtal could respond, a commotion erupted further down the corridor. A group of Zygonian traders, notorious for their hot tempers and poisonous spines, were engaged in a heated argument with a station security officer. "Please, remain calm," the security officer pleaded, his tentacles waving in distress. One of the Zygonians spat a glob of acidic saliva that sizzled as it hit the floor. "We demand justice. Our cargo has been tampered with." Zixtal moved to intervene, but to his horror, he saw Lily had slipped away from her parents and was approaching the agitated aliens with fearless curiosity. "Wow, your spikes are so cool," Lily exclaimed, reaching out towards the nearest Zygonian. Time seemed to slow. The Zygonian, startled by the sudden appearance of the small human, reflexively flared its spines. Poisonous barbs shot out in all directions. Lily. Sarah's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. What happened next would be seared into the memories of every alien witness for years to come. In a display of speed that seemed impossible for their bulky forms, both Sarah and Marcus launched themselves towards their daughter. Sarah scooped Lily into her arms, twisting in midair to shield the child with her own body. Marcus, a fraction of a second behind, threw himself in front of both of them. The barbs that would have struck Lily instead embedded themselves in Marcus's back and Sarah's arms. The humans hit the ground hard, curling protectively around their daughter. For a moment, stunned silence reigned. Then, Lily's voice piped up from within the protective cocoon of her parents' arms. "Mom, Dad, are you okay?" To the astonishment of the aliens, Sarah and Marcus slowly uncurled themselves, wincing but very much alive. The Zygonian poison, capable of paralyzing a Valerian in seconds, seemed to have had little effect beyond causing some localized pain and swelling. "We're fine, sweetheart," Marcus assured her, his voice trained but steady. "Are you hurt?" Lily shook her head, her eyes wide. "No, I'm okay. I'm sorry, I just wanted to see." "It's all right," Sarah interrupted, hugging her daughter close. "But this is why we talk about looking with our eyes, not our hands, remember?" Zixtal and the other aliens watched in stunned silence as the human family picked themselves up. The captain's mind reeled, trying to process what he had just witnessed. The speed of the parents' reaction, their disregard for personal safety, and their apparent resistance to a potent neurotoxin. It all painted a picture of the humans that was far more complex and formidable than any report had suggested. I apologize for the incident," Zixtal finally managed, his scales shifting to a deep blue of concern and embarrassment. "We'll escort you to medical immediately." Sarah shook her head, already helping Marcus remove the barbs from his back. "That won't be necessary, Captain. We came prepared for various xenobiological encounters. Our med kit should suffice." As if to prove her point, she pulled out a small device and ran it over the puncture wounds on her arms. The skin began to knit itself back together almost instantly. The Zygonian who had fired the spines approached cautiously, its own color changing to a remorseful purple. "I offer my deepest apologies, honored humans. I reacted without thinking. Please, if there's anything I can do to make amends." Marcus, despite his discomfort, offered a reassuring smile. "No lasting harm done. Though perhaps this could be a learning opportunity for all of us about the importance of clear communication and personal space." The diplomatic grace with which the humans handled the situation left Zixtal speechless. Here they were, having just experienced what should have been a life-threatening incident, calmly turning it into a teachable moment. As the humans continued their tour of the station, now with a much more attentive and curious alien entourage, Zixtal found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about these Deathworlders. Their physical resilience was impressive, yes, but it was their mental fortitude, their ability to adapt and forgive, that truly set them apart. The captain realized that this diplomatic mission was going to be far more enlightening than anyone had anticipated. The galaxy, it seemed, had much to learn from the humans of Earth. The incident, the days following the Zygonian encounter, passed in a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges. Captain Zixtal found himself increasingly fascinated by the human family. Ambassador Chen's sharp wit and adaptability in negotiations, Dr. Reeves' insatiable scientific curiosity, and young Lily's boundless energy and inquisitiveness were unlike anything he had encountered in his long career. On this particular morning, Zixtal was giving the humans a tour of the station's advanced research facilities. As they entered the xenobiology lab, Lily's eyes widened with wonder at the array of strange specimens floating in stasis fields. "Wow, what's that one?" she asked, pointing to a pulsating, bioluminescent orb. Dr. Reeves leaned in, His scientific interest peaked. Fascinating. It appears to be some sort of symbiotic life form. Captain, could you tell us more about it? Zixtal's scales shimmered with pride. That, Dr. Reeves, is a luminous sphere from the gas giants of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a colonial organism composed of millions of microbes that... Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station, cutting off Zixtal's explanation. Red warning lights bathed the lab in an eerie glow. Warning: containment breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. An automated voice announced in multiple languages. Zixtal's antenna twitched in alarm. Sector 7. That's the high-security quarantine zone. We need to move now. As they rushed towards the exit, chaos erupted in the corridors. Alien scientists and security personnel of various species scrambled in all directions, some freezing in panic, others shoving their way through the crowd. "Stay close," Sarah shouted to her family, her diplomatic composure giving way to sharp, decisive movements. Marcus nodded, scooping Lily into his arms as they followed Zixtal through the pandemonium. They had almost reached the main evacuation route when a horrifying sight stopped them in their tracks. A writhing mass of tentacles and teeth burst through a nearby bulkhead, its amorphous body oozing a corrosive slime that hissed and bubbled as it ate through the station's metal floors. "By the cosmic void," Vreen burbled, his gelatinous form quivering in terror. "It's a void kraken. How did it escape containment?" The creature, easily the size of a small shuttle, whipped its tentacles around, grabbing fleeing aliens and pulling them towards its gaping maw. Screams of terror filled the air as the station's security forces attempted to corral the beast, their energy weapons seeming to have little effect on its ever-shifting form. "We need to reach the emergency pods," Zixtal clicked urgently. "There's an access point just beyond that junction, but we'll have to get past the kraken." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she assessed the situation. "Marcus, take Lily and go with the captain. I'll create a diversion." "What? No," Marcus protested, clutching Lily tighter. "We stick together." But Sarah was already moving, her eyes scanning the debris-strewn corridor. She snatched up a fallen piece of equipment, some kind of alien welding tool, and began fiddling with its controls. "Trust me," she said, her voice filled with a steely determination that brooked no argument. "I've got a plan." Before anyone could stop her, Sarah sprinted towards the void kraken, shouting and waving her arms. "Hey, you overgrown calamari. Over here." The creature's multifaceted eyes swiveled towards her, its tentacles lashing out with frightening speed. But Sarah was faster, ducking and weaving with an agility that left the alien onlookers stunned. As one massive tentacle swept towards her, Sarah activated the welding tool. A blazing arc of plasma erupted from the device, slicing through the tentacle like a hot knife through butter. The severed appendage fell to the ground, writhing and dissolving into a puddle of goo. The kraken let out an otherworldly shriek of pain and fury, focusing its full attention on Sarah. This was exactly what she had hoped for. "Now, go," she yelled to the others, continuing to dodge and weave, keeping the creature's attention fixed on her. Zixtal snapped out of his shocked stupor and began ushering the others towards the escape route. But as they reached the junction, Lily suddenly wriggled free from her father's grasp. "Mom," she cried, darting back towards the fray before anyone could stop her. Time seemed to slow as multiple events unfolded simultaneously. The void kraken, enraged by Sarah's attacks, unleashed a barrage of tentacles in all directions. One massive appendage swept towards Lily, promising certain doom. Sarah, seeing her daughter in peril, abandoned all pretense of self-preservation and launched herself towards Lily with impossible speed. What happened next would become the stuff of legend throughout the galaxy. Sarah reached Lily just as the tentacle was about to strike. In a display of strength that defied the laws of physics as the aliens understood them, she scooped up her daughter with one arm while her other hand shot out and grabbed the oncoming tentacle mid-strike. The impact should have pulverized every bone in her arm. Instead, Sarah's feet skidded back several meters, leaving deep grooves in the metal floor, but she remained standing, her grip on the writhing tentacle unwavering. "Not my daughter, you cosmic horror," Sarah growled through gritted teeth, her eyes blazing with a fury that made even the void kraken pause. With a roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of the station, Sarah yanked on the tentacle with all her might. The void kraken, despite its enormous size, was lifted off its feet and sent hurtling through the air, crashing into the far wall with a sickening splat. In the stunned silence that followed, Sarah turned to the slack-jawed aliens, Lily still tucked safely under one arm. "Well," she said, her voice remarkably calm given what had just transpired, "weren't we heading for the escape pods?" Zixtal's mandibles worked soundlessly for a moment before he found his voice. "Ah, yes, of course. This way, please." As they resumed their evacuation, the aliens couldn't help but steal glances at Sarah, who was now calmly checking Lily for injuries, as if she hadn't just manhandled an eldritch abomination from the depths of space. Marcus and Lily, who had been working on repairing a damaged console nearby, moved to stand beside Sarah. Marcus spoke up, his voice firm. "If you want to understand humans, don't study us in isolation. Work with us. Learn from us as we learn from you." Lily, showing a maturity beyond her years, added, "We're not scary. We just want to make friends and discover new things. Isn't that what space exploration is all about?" San seemed taken aback by the child's words. His aggressive posture softened slightly. "But the power you've demonstrated, it could be misused." "Any power can be misused," Sarah countered. "The measure of a civilization isn't in its capacity for destruction, but in its choice to create, to protect, to coexist. Judge us by our actions, Arbiter San, not by your fears." A murmur of agreement rippled through the gathered aliens. Captain Zixtal, who had been watching the exchange with growing admiration, stepped forward. "High Arbiter, if I may," he clicked respectfully. "I've seen these humans in action. Yes, they're unlike any species we've encountered. But in my opinion, that's precisely why we need them. Their unique perspective, their adaptability, their unorthodox problem-solving. These are assets, not threats." San's antennae twitched as he considered this. Finally, he spoke, his tone grudging but not unkind. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our judgment. A probationary period, then. We will observe and interact, and reassess humanity's status in one galactic cycle." Sarah nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "We accept your offer, High Arbiter, and we look forward to showing you just how much humanity has to offer the galaxy." As the tension in the hangar bay dissipated, replaced by a cautious optimism, Zixtal found himself marveling once again at the humans' ability to turn a potential disaster into an opportunity. They had faced down not just a cosmic horror, but the fear and prejudice of an entire galactic community, armed with nothing but words, reason, and an unshakable belief in themselves. The confrontation was over, but the true challenge was just beginning. As Zixtal watched Sarah and her family begin to mingle with the curious aliens, sharing stories and answering questions, he realized that humanity's integration into the galactic community would be a journey unlike any other. And despite the uncertainty, the risks, and the challenges that lay ahead, Zixtal couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. The age of humanity had truly begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Aftermath and understanding. The weeks following the Void Kraken incident and the confrontation with High Arbiter Xan were a whirlwind of activity on Harmony 7. The station, once a quiet outpost on the fringes of explored space, had become the focal point of galactic attention. Diplomats, scientists, and curious observers from 100 different species flocked to the station, all eager to catch a glimpse of the remarkable humans who had turned the galactic status quo on its head. In the newly repaired observation lounge, Captain Zixtal stood beside Ambassador Sarah Chen, watching the steady stream of ships arriving at the station. His scales shimmered with a mix of blues and greens, reflecting his conflicted emotions. "I never imagined Harmony 7 would become so popular," he clicked, his antenna twitching in bemusement. Sarah chuckled, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Well, Captain, I'd say your little outpost is living up to its name. It's becoming a real harmony of species out there." Zixtal turned to face her, his compound eyes studying her intently. "Ambassador Chen, I owe you an apology. When you first arrived, I saw you and your family as potential threats, as unpredictable variables in a carefully balanced equation. I was wrong." Sarah's expression softened. "There's no need to apologize, Captain. Fear of the unknown is a universal constant, it seems. What matters is how we move forward from here." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Marcus Reeves and Lily, both looking excited and slightly disheveled. "Mom, Dad, you won't believe what we just did," Lily exclaimed, practically bouncing with enthusiasm. Marcus grinned, running a hand through his unruly hair. "We've been in the xenobiology lab with a team of Arcturian geneticists. They were fascinated by how we neutralize the void kraken, so we've been exploring potential applications of tardigrade-based solutions for deep space exploration." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and how did that go?" "We made a breakthrough," Lily burst out, unable to contain herself any longer. "Dad figured out how to incorporate tardigrade DNA into spaceship hull coatings. It could revolutionize long-distance space travel, make ships practically indestructible." In the weapons control center, Sarah's fingers flew over the alien console with surprising dexterity. "Okay, we need to reconfigure your energy weapons to emit a specific frequency. It won't hurt the kraken, but it'll annoy the hell out of it." Meanwhile, in the lab, Marcus and Lily worked feverishly. "Pass me that molecular stabilizer, sweetheart," Marcus said, his focus intense as he combined various alien substances. Lily handed him the device. "Is this going to work, Dad?" Marcus paused, giving his daughter a reassuring smile. "Science is all about trying, failing, and trying again. But between you and me, I think we got a real shot." Back in the weapons room, alarms blared as the void kraken's tentacles breached another section of the station. Sarah finished her modifications just as Zixtal received a priority communication. "The GPF battlecruiser Unyielding Justice has arrived," he reported. "They're preparing to fire their main cannon. It could destroy the entire station along with the kraken." Sarah's eyes hardened. "Not if we move fast enough. Tell them to hold fire. We've got this." Just then, Marcus's voice came over the comm. "We're ready on our end." Lily came up with the brilliant idea of using the station's waste reclamation system to distribute the solution. "It's risky, but it might just work." "That's my girl," Sarah said proudly. "All right, let's do this. Captain, I need station-wide access to the PA system." As Zixtal complied, Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice echoing throughout the remains of Harmony 7. "Attention all survivors. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. I know you're scared. I know the situation seems hopeless, but right now I need you to trust us. In exactly 2 minutes, we're going to execute a plan to neutralize the void kraken. When you hear the signal, and believe me, you'll know it when you hear it, I need every single one of you to make as much noise as you possibly can. Shout, scream, bang on things. Do whatever you have to do. The louder, the better. Your lives depend on it." She cut the transmission and turned to Zixtal, ready to see how we do things on Earth. The next 2 minutes were the longest of Zixtal's life. He watched in awe as Sarah coordinated with Marcus, fine-tuning their plan with the precision of seasoned warriors. When the moment finally arrived, Sarah slammed her hand down on the console, activating the modified weapons. A piercing, multi-frequency shriek filled the air, causing everyone to wince. The void kraken writhed in apparent discomfort, its tentacles flailing wildly. "Now, Marcus," Sarah shouted into her comm. Across the station, Marcus and Lily activated the waste reclamation system. A fine mist of their tardigrade-based solution began to spray from every vent and opening, quickly enveloping the Kraken. "Make some noise, people," Sarah's voice boomed over the PA. "Like your lives depend on it, because they do." What followed was a cacophony unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. Thousands of alien voices raised in a discordant chorus, accompanied by the banging of makeshift drums and the clanging of metal on metal. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, and absolutely perfect. The Void Kraken, already distressed by the energy weapons, began to convulse as the tardigrade solution coated its massive form. The combination of the noise, the irritating energy frequencies, and the resilient microorganisms proved too much for the cosmic horror to handle. With a final, earth-shattering shriek, the Void Kraken began to dissolve, its assimilated technology falling away in chunks. In a matter of minutes, the threat that had nearly doomed the entire sector was reduced to a harmless puddle of goo. As the cheers of relief and triumph echoed through the station, Zixtal turned to Sarah, his mandibles agape. How did you know that would work?" Sarah grinned, the adrenaline of their success still coursing through her. "We didn't, but on Earth we have a saying. Necessity is the mother of invention. When backed into a corner, humans tend to get creative." As the cleanup began and the full extent of their victory became clear, Zixtal realized that the galaxy had grossly underestimated these Deathworlders from Earth. They weren't just physically resilient. Their minds were weapons of their own, capable of finding solutions where none seemed to exist. The chase was over, but Zixtal had a feeling that humanity's race to reshape the galaxy had only just begun. And despite his initial reservations, he found himself oddly excited to see where these unpredictable, innovative, and fiercely protective humans would take them all next. Confrontation and resolution. In the days following the Void Kraken incident, Harmony 7 buzzed with a mixture of frantic repair efforts and excited chatter. The story of how the human family had saved the station spread like wildfire, growing more elaborate with each retelling. By the third day, some versions claimed that Sarah had wrestled the Kraken into submission with her bare hands, while Marcus had reprogrammed the fabric of spacetime. Captain Zixtal found himself in the unenviable position of having to file an official report on the incident. He sat in his office, antenna twitching nervously as he tried to find the words to explain the inexplicable. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he clicked. Ambassador Sarah Chen strode in, looking remarkably composed for someone who had recently faced down a cosmic horror. "Captain, I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all, Ambassador." Zixtal gestured to a chair designed to accommodate various alien physiologies. "Please sit. I was just working on my report about recent events." Sarah smiled wryly, having trouble finding the right words. "You could say that." Zixtal's scales shimmered in embarrassment. "How does one explain the human lifting a Void Kraken, or synthesizing a solution to neutralize it in mere minutes?" "Well," Sarah leaned back, her expression thoughtful, "you could start by saying we got lucky." Zixtal's compound eyes blinked rapidly in surprise. "Lucky, Ambassador, with all due respect, what I witnessed was far beyond mere luck." Sarah chuckled. "Maybe, but luck played its part. We were lucky that Lily remembered the documentary about tardigrades. Lucky that your station had the right equipment for Marcus to work with. Lucky that the Kraken reacted the way it did to our hastily concocted plan." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "But here's the thing, Captain. Humans don't just rely on luck. We create our own luck through preparation, adaptability, and sheer stubborn determination." Zixtal found himself nodding slowly. "I'm beginning to understand that. But the Galactic Council, they'll want explanations, assurances, about whether we're a threat." Sarah's tone was light, but there was steel beneath it. Yes," Zixtal admitted. "Your capabilities far exceed what our initial assessments suggested. Some will see that as concerning." Sarah stood, pacing the office with restless energy. Let me be clear, Captain. Humanity doesn't want to conquer the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, trade with it. But we also won't shy away from protecting ourselves or our allies. She stopped, fixing Zixtal with a penetrating gaze. The question isn't whether humanity is a threat. It's whether we'll be treated as equals and given a fair chance to prove ourselves as valuable members of the galactic community. Before Zixtal could respond, the office door burst open. Lieutenant Vreen oozed in, his gelatinous form rippling with agitation. Captain, Ambassador, we have a situation in the main hangar bay. They rushed to the hangar, where a tense standoff was unfolding. A delegation from the Galactic Council had arrived, led by High Arbiter Xon, a towering insectoid being known for his hardline stance on emerging species. Xon's multifaceted eyes gleamed as he caught sight of Sarah. Ah, the human ambassador. How convenient. We were just discussing the need to quarantine your species until a full evaluation can be conducted. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Quarantine. On what grounds? On the grounds that your kind represents an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. Xon chittered. The incident with the Void Kraken proves that humans are far too dangerous to be allowed free rein in civilized space. The hangar bay fell silent, the tension palpable. Even the repair drones seemed to pause in their work, sensing the gravity of the moment. Sarah took a step forward, her voice calm but filled with unmistakable authority. High Arbiter Xon, let me be perfectly clear. Humanity will not be quarantined, evaluated, or restricted based on the fears of those who don't understand us. Xon's mandibles clicked in agitation. You dare to? I dare to speak the truth, Sarah interrupted. Yes, humans are capable of incredible feats when pushed to our limits. Yes, we can be fierce, even frightening, when protecting what we care about. But we're also explorers, scientists, diplomats. We've come to learn, to share, to grow alongside the galactic community. She gestured around the hangar bay. Look at what we accomplished here. We didn't save this station to prove our superiority. We did it because it was the right thing to do. Because every life here, human or alien, matters to us. Marcus, for his part, merely shook his head with a mixture of exasperation and pride. I told them bringing you as the diplomatic envoy was a good idea, he muttered. Nothing says, don't mess with Earth, quite like watching you work. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Let's just hope this doesn't complicate the negotiations too much. I'd hate to have to arm wrestle the entire Galactic Council to get our trade agreement signed. As they reached the escape pods, Zixtal found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about the universe. These humans, these Deathworlders, were far more than merely resilient. They were forces of nature unto themselves, capable of feats that bordered on the impossible. And as the escape pod blasted away from the chaos-engulfed station, carrying them to safety, Zixtal realized that the galaxy would never be the same again. The age of humanity had begun, and he had a feeling it was going to be one wild ride. The chase. The escape pod hurtled through space, its occupants still reeling from the chaos they'd left behind. Inside, Captain Zixtal's scales flickered through a kaleidoscope of colors, reflecting his turbulent emotions. Across from him, the Chen Reeves family sat huddled together, Lily sandwiched protectively between her parents. I don't understand, Vreen burbled, his gelatinous form still quivering from the ordeal. How did you? What you did back there? It shouldn't be possible. Sarah gave a wry smile. Well, when it comes to protecting our young, humans tend to exceed expectations. Zixtal's antenna twitched as he processed this, but the strength required to manhandle a Void Kraken, the speed at which you moved, our scans didn't indicate such capabilities. Marcus chuckled. Captain, with all due respect, your scans barely scratched the surface of human physiology. We're adaptable. Before Zixtal could inquire further, the pod's communication system crackled to life. Mayday, mayday. This is Harmony 7 Security Chief Kroll. The situation has escalated. The Void Kraken has evolved. It's absorbing technology from the station. We can't contain it. I repeat, we cannot contain it. The atmosphere in the pod grew tense. Zixtal's mandibles clicked rapidly as he considered their options. We need to rendezvous with the nearest GPF battlecruiser. They can quarantine the entire sector if necessary, and leave everyone on the station to die. Sarah's voice was sharp. Not an option. Zixtal's eyes narrowed. Ambassador Chen, I appreciate your bravery, but this is beyond even your demonstrated capabilities. The Void Kraken is one of the most dangerous entities in the known universe. Now that it's assimilating technology, it could threaten entire star systems. Lily, who had been quietly observing, suddenly piped up. Mom, Dad, remember the documentary we watched about the tardigrades? How they can survive in space. Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. Lily, you're a genius. He turned to the bewildered aliens. Captain, we need to go back. I have an idea, but we'll need access to your xenobiology lab. Sarah nodded, already on the same wavelength as her husband. And we'll need to modify some of your weapon systems. Think you can get us clearance? Zixtal looked between the two humans, his confusion evident. You want to go back? To fight that thing? With tardigrades? Trust us, Sarah said, her eyes gleaming with determination. Humanity didn't survive Earth by backing down from a challenge. Against his better judgment, Zixtal found himself inputting the override codes to turn the pod around. As they approached the chaotic scene around Harmony 7, the full extent of the situation became clear. The Void Kraken had grown to monstrous proportions, its tentacles now laced with circuitry and metal plating. It was systematically tearing the station apart, absorbing chunks of technology into its ever-expanding mass. By the cosmic void, Vreen whispered in horror, as they docked in a still intact section of the station. Sarah took charge. All right, here's the plan. Marcus, you and Lily head to the lab. Synthesize a tardigrade-based solution that can withstand both vacuum and the Kraken's corrosive properties. Captain, I need you to take me to your weapons control center. And what about me? Lily asked, her young face set with determination. Sarah knelt down, looking her daughter in the eye. You, my brave little explorer, have the most important job of all. You're going to be your dad's assistant. Think you can handle that? Lily nodded solemnly. Aye, aye, Captain Mom. As the group split up, Zixtal found himself jogging to keep up with Sarah's purposeful stride. Ambassador, what exactly are you planning? Sarah's grin was almost predatory. We're going to give that cosmic horror a taste of good old-fashioned human ingenuity. Zixtal's mandibles clicked rapidly in astonishment. That's incredible. The implications for galactic exploration are enormous. Sarah beamed with pride, ruffling Lily's hair affectionately. See, Captain, this is what humanity brings to the table. We don't just overcome challenges, we turn them into opportunities for growth and discovery. Just then, Lieutenant Vreen oozed into the lounge, his gelatinous form rippling with excitement. Captain, Ambassador, you're needed in the main conference room. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session, and they've requested your presence. The atmosphere in the conference room was electric as holographic projections of the council members flickered into existence. High Arbiter Xon's imposing form dominated the central display. Captain Zixtal, Ambassador Chen. Xon began, his tone formal but not unfriendly. The events on Harmony 7 have forced the Council to reevaluate many of our long-held beliefs and protocols. Sarah stepped forward, her posture confident but not confrontational. We appreciate the Council's willingness to reconsider their stance, High Arbiter. What conclusions have you reached? Xon's antennae twitched, a sign of what might have been amusement. Conclusions. Ambassador Chen, we've barely scratched the surface of the questions your species has raised. However, we have made some decisions regarding humanity's immediate future in the galactic community. The room fell silent, every being present acutely aware of the historic nature of this moment. Firstly, Zahn continued, the proposed quarantine of humanity has been unanimously rejected. Your actions in saving Harmony 7 and your subsequent contributions to galactic science have demonstrated that isolation would be a disservice not just to your species, but to the entire galactic community. A ripple of approval went through the room. Sarah nodded graciously, but remained silent, sensing there was more to come. Secondly, we are fast-tracking humanity's application for full membership in the Galactic Alliance. Your unique perspectives and problem-solving abilities are assets we can no longer afford to ignore. This announcement was met with gasps and excited murmurs. Even Zixtal's normally composed demeanor slipped, his scales flashing a bright yellow of surprise and joy. And finally, Zahn said, his multifaceted eyes seeming to focus directly on Sarah, the Council is establishing a new initiative, the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program. We invite humanity to take a leading role in this endeavor to help foster greater understanding and cooperation between all species. Sarah's eyes widened slightly, the only outward sign of her shock at this unprecedented offer. She glanced at Marcus and Lily, saw the excitement and determination in their eyes, and knew what her answer would be. High Arbiter, esteemed members of the Council, Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. On behalf of humanity, we accept your offer with gratitude and humility. We look forward to working alongside all of you to build a brighter, more inclusive future for our galaxy. As the Council members nodded in approval and the projections winked out one by one, the room erupted into cheers and congratulations. Species that had been wary of each other just weeks ago were now embracing, chattering excitedly about the possibilities that lay ahead. In the midst of the celebration, Zixtal approached the Chen Reeves family. I must admit, he clicked, his scales shimmering with a warm golden hue. When I first met you, I never imagined we'd end up here. You humans are full of surprises. Marcus laughed, clapping Zixtal on what approximated a shoulder. Oh, Captain, you haven't seen anything yet. Just wait until you try our food. Lily tugged at Sarah's sleeve, her young face serious. Mom, does this mean we get to stay in space? Keep exploring. Sarah knelt down, looking her daughter in the eye. It means, my brave little explorer, that we have a whole galaxy of new friends to make and new wonders to discover. Our adventure is just beginning. As the family hugged, Zixtal felt a strange warmth in his thorax. He realized with a start that he was feeling something he hadn't experienced in many cycles. Hope. Hope for the future, hope for understanding between species, hope for a galaxy made brighter by the indomitable spirit of humanity. The Void Kraken had been defeated, yes, but the real victory was in the bonds forged in the crucible of that crisis. As Zixtal watched the humans, his friends, he realized with surprise, laughing and planning for the future, he knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. And that, he decided, was a very good thing indeed.